Morning, this is Minister Peaceful Poet. I'm in my headquarters. It's a little chilly in here, so I've been doing most of my videos recently in the house. But I have a news story for you that I think needs to be shared. You may have heard it already. I'm sure it's going around, but if you haven't, well, you should hear it. Well, maybe you shouldn't hear it. But there's a woman in Australia, and she parked her car in the middle of a road and blocked traffic. She posted a sign on her car saying that the mandates are killing us and nobody cares. And then she poured 4 gallons of gasoline on herself and she lit herself on fire. And the police tried to stop her, tried to talk her out of it, but she said she just didn't have anything and she just lit herself on fire. The good news is she lived, I guess. I don't know. That might not be good news. I don't know how she's living. No updates at all or anything about her condition because it just happened recently. And there's no one knows the backstory either, what she all lost, but many can guess, of course. I imagine someone died. I imagine she lost her job. I imagine she had no home. I imagine she probably just lived in her car. And so many of you who might be my age might remember the Vietnam War when monks lit themselves on fire to protest the Vietnam War. And that back then, just to explain this to you, back then that was um, when this was a man's world. And it was single men, of course, who did this, who lit themselves up on fire. Now we're entering the age of the goddess, and this is becoming a woman's world. And so now a single woman does this. And when I first heard this story, I almost cried, and it's really hard not to cry when you think about it. It's pretty sad. And a woman, another woman here from Australia makes a video about this, explaining that it's now time that we become angry. It's very crafty the way this whole thing was planned out, promulgated. And if we just used our common sense and thought about this, we would stop this in its tracks and it wouldn't go any further. I mean, really, a pandemic? This is not no pandemic. If this were a pandemic, you would walk down the street and you'd see dead people. I don't personally know anybody who has died of COVID. I mean, you hear about people dying, you hear about people dying of the vaccine. Um, but that's a whole. This whole thing was planned out in 2015. This is what I'm learning. It was all planned out in 2015, and they're not winning. They're not getting what they want. 64 million, as I explained in an earlier video, 64 million people were supposed to die, and that didn't happen. But they're not too happy with that, and so now they're pushing, more shots. You know, more shots. They want everybody to get booster shots now. It's time we stop this. It's time we put this to an end. And I'm lucky. I live where I live. We're pretty free, but it's not so in other places, and it may not always be free where I'm at. And if it's free where you're at, it may not always be free where you're at. So we really need to think about this and put this to a stop. And I don't know. I guess I really that's about just a short video. That's really about all. It's a horrible news story. Um, and there was more that I was going to say, but I can't even think of it now. Oh yeah, I know what it was. Yeah, We were created to take orders. That's what we were created to do. I explained one experiment to you all once, comparing chimpanzees to children. But I was reminded of another experiment that was once done where a doctor was telling people to shock people if they didn't do things correctly, and was very surprised at the outcome. We were created to take orders, and that's what we do. And this is how our society has grown. We take orders. But it has come time for us to advance, to us to move up, and not so much do as we were told on the outside, but rather maybe do what we are told on the inside. If it don't feel right, if it don't sound right, then it ain't right. It's time we start using our common sense, we start thinking, we start listening to our inner voice, and ignore what's going on around us. Ignore the voices and the clatter around us, and just shut it out and listen to the voice within us and follow the voice within us. It's time for us to do that. Peace and love.